The waves crashed relentlessly against the jagged rocks, sending up plumes of salty spray. The ship, battered and broken, groaned as its timbers splintered, surrendering to the wild sea. Flames licked at the hull, smoke curling into the humid air, marking the end of one journey and the uncertain beginning of another. Amidst the chaos, a desperate couple clung to hope, seeking refuge in a small lifeboat. The mother held their baby tightly, her arms a fragile shield against the vast, unforgiving ocean. Fear and determination mingled in their eyes as they rowed away from the burning wreck, hearts pounding with every stroke. Eventually, the battered family reached the wild, untamed shores of Africa. The dense jungle loomed before them, mysterious and alive, promising both sanctuary and new dangers. They had escaped one peril, only to find themselves at the edge of another, where every shadow seemed to whisper of the unknown. Deep within the emerald heart of the jungle, a family of gorillas moved silently through the trees. Their world was one of dappled sunlight, thick vines, and ancient secrets, a place where survival depended on strength, unity, and instinct. Kayla, a gentle mother still mourning the loss of her own child, paused as a strange, unfamiliar sound drifted through the undergrowth. Her ears perked up, curiosity and sorrow mingling in her chest as she listened intently, her heart aching for what she had lost. Compelled by a powerful maternal instinct, Kayla followed the faint cries through the tangled foliage. There, among the debris of the ruined wooden vessel, she discovered a tiny, helpless human infant. Compassion welled up inside her as she gazed at the child, so vulnerable and alone in this vast, wild world. This little one needed her, needed warmth, protection, and love. Without hesitation, Kayla gathered the baby into her strong arms, her touch gentle and reassuring. She knew the risks, knew her kind might not understand, but her heart would not let her turn away. She would defy the expectations of her family and embrace this orphan child as her own, vowing to keep him safe no matter the cost. The baby, now named Tarzan, became the newest member of the gorilla family. Among the towering trees and chattering wildlife, he would grow up surrounded by creatures so different from himself, yet bound to him by love and loyalty. Life in the jungle was harsh and unforgiving. Dangers lurked behind every tree and beneath every leaf. But Kayla protected Tarzan fiercely, shielding him from harm and teaching him how to survive in this unpredictable world. She taught him the ways of the jungle, the language of the animals, the secrets of the forest, and the importance of family. Under her guidance, Tarzan learned to climb, to swing, to listen, and to trust his instincts. But Tarzan was different. He looked different, moved differently, and often struggled to keep up with his gorilla siblings. His human form set him apart, making him a curiosity and at times an outsider. Acceptance from the other gorillas, especially Kerchak, the powerful and wary silverback leader, would not come easily. Kerchak watched Tarzan with suspicion, uncertain if this strange child could ever truly belong. To earn his place, Tarzan would have to prove himself worthy of their trust and respect. Every day brought new challenges, testing his courage, strength, and determination as he strove to keep up with his family. Yet, despite every obstacle, Tarzan was determined to belong. He longed to find his place in this wild and wonderful world, to be accepted not just as an outsider, but as a true member of the family he had come to love. Tarzan swung through the jungle, his small hands gripping the vines as he soared above the forest floor. The wind rushed past his face and the leaves brushed against his skin, making him feel alive and free in a way nothing else could. With each passing day, his movements grew more confident and sure. He learned to trust his instincts, to listen to the sounds of the jungle, and to move with the rhythm of the wild. He mimicked the animals around him, watching the monkeys leap from branch to branch and the gorillas climb with powerful arms. Tarzan learned to climb, to swing, and to survive by copying their every move, becoming a part of the jungle's living tapestry. Yet even as he learned their ways, he couldn't shake the feeling of being different. There was a quiet loneliness that followed him, a sense that he didn't quite belong. Sometimes he would stare at his reflection in the still water of a jungle pond, seeing a face that was not like the others, skin paler, features unfamiliar, eyes searching for answers. He longed to be accepted by the other young gorillas, to join in their games, to share in their laughter and feel the warmth of belonging. But he always felt just out of reach, watching from the shadows. The young gorillas saw him as an outsider, a strange creature, who moved and looked so differently from them. They kept their distance, unsure and wary of this human child in their midst. The jungle was a harsh teacher. Tarzan fell many times, stumbling over roots and slipping from branches. He faced wild animals and dangers lurking in the shadows, always having to be alert and quick to react. But each challenge, each scrape and bruise, made him stronger and more resilient. He learned to get back up, to keep moving forward no matter how tough things became. Tarzan discovered he could use his unique skills to his advantage. He was clever and resourceful, finding new ways to solve problems and adapt to the wild world around him. He wasn't as strong as the gorillas, but he was faster, more agile, and able to slip through the trees with a speed that amazed even the animals. He could swing from tree to tree with a grace and swiftness that made him feel like he truly belonged among the branches, high above the dangers below. Tarzan realized that being different wasn't a weakness, it was his greatest strength. He embraced his uniqueness, knowing that it was what made him special in the heart of the jungle. Not all the jungle's creatures shunned Tarzan. Terk, a mischievous young gorilla with a heart of gold, saw past his differences. She became his best friend, his confidant, his partner in crime. Together, they explored the deepest corners of the jungle, getting into all sorts of trouble. Where Terk was bold and impulsive, Tarzan was thoughtful and cautious. They balanced each other perfectly. Then there was Tantor, the anxious but loyal elephant. He might have been terrified of his own shadow, but he would face any danger to protect his friends. Tantor's knowledge of the jungle was vast, his memory like a library of ancient secrets. He taught Tarzan about the delicate balance of nature, the interconnectedness of all living things. Together, the three friends formed an unbreakable bond, a family forged in the heart of the wilderness. Danger lurked in every shadow of the jungle. None were more feared than Sabor, the leopard with emerald eyes and lightning reflexes. Sabor was the jungle's apex predator, a relentless hunter with a taste for gorillas. When Sabor attacked Tarzan's gorilla family, Tarzan knew he had to act. He couldn't stand by and watch as the creature that had taken so much from him threatened those he loved. The battle was fierce, Sabor was fast and deadly, but Tarzan was quicker, more agile. He used his knowledge of the jungle, his ability to swing through the trees to outmaneuver the ferocious cat. With a final desperate blow, Tarzan struck Sabor down, his spear piercing the beast's heart. The jungle fell silent. Tarzan had faced the ultimate test and emerged victorious. He had proven himself worthy, not just to the gorillas, but to himself. The jungle was alive with new sounds, strange and wondrous. A ship arrived, bringing with it creatures unlike any Tarzan had ever seen. Humans. They walked on two legs, their skin pale and smooth. They carried strange contraptions and spoke in a language Tarzan didn't understand. Among them was Jane, a young woman with eyes that shone with intelligence and kindness. Jane had come to the jungle with her father, a renowned professor, to study gorillas in their natural habitat. She was fascinated by these creatures, so similar to humans in some ways, so different in others. She never imagined she would encounter a man raised as one of them. Tarzan was immediately drawn to Jane. She was a link to the world he had never known, the world his parents had come from. He longed to learn more about her world. Jane's presence, opened up a whole new world to Tarzan. She taught him English, sharing stories of her life in England, a land of bustling cities and, well, some pretty strange customs. Tarzan, in turn, shared his knowledge of the jungle, its secrets whispered in the rustling leaves and the calls of exotic birds. He showed her the beauty of his world, the delicate balance of nature that he understood so well. As Tarzan spent more time with Jane, he found himself torn between two worlds. He was raised by gorillas, taught the ways of the jungle, but he was also human, connected to Jane and her world in a way he just couldn't deny. He was caught between his loyalty to his gorilla family and his growing feelings for Jane, a woman who represented a life he had never known but couldn't help but yearn for. The jungle was filled with the sounds of Tarzan's turmoil. He swung through the trees, his heart heavy with the weight of his decision. He loved his gorilla family. They had taken him in, raised him as their own, protected him from danger. How could he turn his back on them? But Jane, she was like a flower blooming in the harsh wilderness of his heart. She represented a life he could barely imagine, a life filled with love, laughter, and a future he had never dared to dream of. The choice just seemed impossible. Stay with the gorillas, his family, and deny his feelings for Jane and the world she represented? or leave the only home he had ever known, the only family he had ever known, to pursue a love that might be nothing more than a fleeting dream. Either choice felt like a betrayal. Danger arrived in the form of Clayton, a ruthless hunter who had accompanied Jane and her father on their expedition deep into the heart of the jungle. His presence brought an uneasy tension, a sense that something precious was about to be threatened. To Clayton, the magnificent gorillas were not living beings with families and emotions, but mere trophies, prizes to be hunted, killed, and displayed as symbols of conquest and power. Sensing Tarzan's fascination with Jane and his longing to belong to her world, Clayton cunningly manipulated him. He played on Tarzan's innocence and trust, convincing him to reveal the secret location of the gorilla nesting grounds, all under the guise of friendship and understanding. Tarzan, blinded by his deep love for Jane and his hope of acceptance, failed to see the darkness in Clayton's heart. His desire to bridge the gap between his world and Jane's clouded his judgment, making him vulnerable to betrayal. When Clayton's true intentions were finally revealed, the weight of Tarzan's mistake crashed down upon him. He was devastated, realizing he had unwittingly endangered the very family that had raised and loved him. Overcome with guilt and sorrow, Tarzan felt the sting of betrayal, not just of his family, but of himself. He had put his loved ones in grave danger, and the pain of that realization was almost unbearable. But in that moment of despair, Tarzan's resolve hardened. He vowed to do whatever it took to protect his gorilla family, to make amends for his mistake, and to stand as their guardian against the threat that now loomed over them. A fierce and chaotic battle erupted in the depths of the jungle. The air was filled with the deafening sounds of gunfire, the desperate cries of the gorillas, and the furious roars that echoed through the trees as they fought to defend their home. Amidst the chaos, Kerchak, the powerful silverback leader who had always been wary of Tarzan, threw himself into the fray to protect his family. In a heroic act, he was mortally wounded, sacrificing himself for those he loved. In his final moments, Kerchak looked at Tarzan with newfound respect and acceptance. With his dying breath, he acknowledged Tarzan as his son, passing on the mantle of protector and leader. Fueled by grief, love, and a newfound sense of purpose, Tarzan confronted Clayton in a dramatic showdown. Drawing on his strength and the lessons of the jungle, Tarzan defeated the hunter, saving his family and proving himself a true hero of the wild. The jungle fell silent, the echoes of battle fading into the rustling leaves. Kerchak was gone, but his legacy lived on in Tarzan, the human child raised as a gorilla, the outsider who had become their leader. With Jane by his side, Tarzan embraced his destiny. He would lead the gorillas, protect them from harm, and ensure their survival in a world that was changing rapidly. Jane made her choice. She belonged in the jungle, with Tarzan, the man who had captured her heart and opened her eyes to the wonders of the wild. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, their love for each other and for their gorilla family, a beacon of hope in a world often shrouded in darkness. Tarzan, the boy who was lost, had finally found his place, his purpose, his family. He was home.